Hello. Welcome back to the Elyse DeLucci Show, episode 82. You're going to love this episode. I have my good friend here, Mike Young, comedian, writer, director. How long have you been doing stand-up? 20 years?
20 years solid.
Okay, you can introduce yourself, but you did ask me right before we started, is this my house? Yeah, this is my living room. It's gorgeous, right?
It's great.
Is that a Peloton? You know what?
Is that a Peloton bike? What is that?
That is a Peloton bike.
Good for you.
Yeah, but what am I going to do? Everything was closed down. What, I'm supposed to not exercise? So I bought a $3,000 bike. I used it 4 times. I don't know how much I'm paying per ride, but it's not good.
Looks great. It's all about the background. Yeah, I'm Mike Young. Good to re-see you after months and months and months.
So Mike and I, we're friends. We met a few years ago, and at the start of
a few years.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a few. We met at Gotham Comedy Club, 2 or 3 years ago. No.
Wow. Right before.
And then at the start of the pandemic, the lockdown. We were on the phone all the time together. And I feel like it was just a weird thing, but I'm happy that you're on the podcast. And let me tell you something. Do you know how many people have written in and said, oh my God, you got to get a guest. You got to get some of your funny comedian friends. And wait, you're going to die. This is episode 82. I did the intro before, but you are the first guest.
Are you serious?
I swear to God.
Yeah. I'm so happy. Thank you. I love how you slide that right in there. Thank you for having me as the first guest. Why? You just been talking by yourself every day?
Is that not the funniest thing you've ever heard? Yeah, they love it. The people, they love it. No, but it's I had my I don't know, followers, I guess, whatever you call them, fans. I don't know. They said, where else could we hear you? During the lockdown. So I made the podcast. It now has, 13,000 monthly listeners. It's crazy.
That's amazing.
We're an advertiser-free podcast. But you know what? They're saying, oh my God, bring some of these funny people. So I promised you a long time ago that you would come on, and here you are.
Here I am.
Tell me what's new. Tell me what's new.
God, what's new?
Yeah,
so many things. We're back on the road. I'm back on the road with Saget. I'll reverse it a little bit.
Yeah, let's
Since I'm your first guest, right? Started stand up 20 years ago, right? 20, 19, 20. You never know when you start stand up, right? You don't know when you start. You always think it's the first time you ever went on stage. But for a lot of people like myself, I went on stage for 6 straight months and then quit. You know what I mean? Then didn't know.
Why did you quit? Why'd you quit at 6 months in?
Because I was, believe it or not, I was still into music heavy. I was in a band called TKO. I was doing hip hop stuff. I was I don't know if comedy's going to be my thing. So it wasn't until the girl I was dating, who at the time was my fiance, it wasn't until she said, you don't take this seriously. You're never going to be a comedian if you don't take it seriously. And it was literally from that day on that every single day I was at the Comedy Store in LA or at an open mic, or I just dove in head first, and that was it. Decision done. All you got to do is tell me I can't do something.
I was just going to say, that's a classic guy thing. Tell a guy he can't do something, and next thing he knows, he becomes an expert. But wait, time out. You are from Detroit. So this is when you're 19 and you're already in LA. I know Mike went from Detroit to then LA.
I got a whole past life. No, I went to college at Arizona for 5 years. Oh, so 5 years, University of Arizona. Mm-hmm. Moved to Chicago for a year. Wasn't even doing comedy after college, just always knew I wanted to do comedy. In my mind, I was going to do it. Always going to do it. Was scared to do it. When am I going to do it? I would see comedians in college, open for Seinfeld or open for these big comics that would come through. I would always just be thinking, I'm going to do this. I had a knack for writing. So I was always writing no matter what, even before stand-up. And it wasn't until I moved to LA 5 years after college, after college, I moved with my girl to Chicago.
Right.
Then I started some weird company, with one of my boys who could build cabinets. I invested in a cabinet company, but I couldn't build anything. Then I took so then I was I broke up with my girl. I left the cabinet company. I sold my little piece of it. And I was I'm moving to LA. This is it. And it was just game on from there. So when I got to LA, I was 26, 27. I was kind of a late bloomer in comedy, which has been a theme of my whole life. I've just been a late bloomer.
So fast forward. So you did this, late bloomer in comedy. And just so you guys know, Mike Young, he's on tour with Danny Tanner, Bob Saget from Full House.
Been on tour with Saget now for like 7-8 years. We've been working together, which is great because I'll go do my thing and then just Bob will call me and be like, we got 17 cities lined up. So for me, it's just a blessing. It's like such a great thing because Bob is super cool and super famous and we just pack the house everywhere we go. And so you get a chance to do your material in front of real crowds. But before Bob, I was on the road with Rogan for a year. I toured with Joe Rogan for a year. I've been super fortunate in my comedy journey.
So how did that happen? Getting hooked up with Joe Rogan? Did you see him at the store, that kind of thing?
So I'm at the store. I was at the Comedy Store, and I was kind of getting some traction early in my comedy days, like 3, 4, 5 years into it. People were taking notice. I'd gotten like a development deal early with a company. I only had like 8-9 minutes of total material, and I'll never forget. Rogan came up to me in the back of the Comedy Store. He's like, "Dude, you're really, really funny." He's like, "I have some dates coming up if you want to do them." Oh. And I was like so blown away, honestly, being a kid from like the Detroit area and never being on tour ever in my life, any kind of tour, that I was just like, "Joe, bro, I feel like I owe you a house." Like, this is like
that's what I think. I think that's what you need. Like, I think that's what comics need. You need somebody bigger, more established to pick you up and just be like, "Listen, come out with me. You're going to get stronger. You're going to get better." But they believe in you. Right.
Joe Rogan definitely blessed me with that. So for a year I went on the road, and this is before Joe signed on to the UFC stuff. Right. This is when he was like coming out of Fear Factor and was still a huge name. So we were doing like Vegas, 1,200 seaters, 1,100, 1,000. We were doing comedy clubs. So I went from the original room in the belly room of 80 people to literally going on tour and just like having to pretend in my mind that I was Elvis because you have to just go on stage in front of these huge crowds and somehow tell yourself this is just totally normal. Right. And I'm just going to do what I do. And I'm just going to look at only like 5 people in the audience and not think about the 1,000 people that I'm in front of. Right. And so, Joe just like was cool enough to see something in me with my writing and my, my jokes and my stand up. And he was like, "Dude, you're awesome. Come with me." So for over a year, actually, it was me, Joe, Ari Shaffir. Sometimes it would be me, Joe, and Joey Diaz. Oh yeah. And so we just had like the most fun run you could have. I made, listen, I was single. I think Joe was single. And this is before he got married. And this was rock and roll. I remember in Vegas, I was like, "I'd like some tequila." And they brought me a bottle of tequila. I thought I was just going to get a glass of tequila. I wanted a shot. They brought me a bottle. And I'm telling you, I thought like, I made it. That's it. It's a wrap. It's over.
People don't understand that, like, when you get to a certain level in comedy, big, it's like the equivalent of being a rock star. The things that it's crazy.
Even as the opener, I felt rock starish. I mean, I was like, I was good
in the dressing room.
I was fine. You order a shot of tequila and they give you a bottle. You made it. It's over.
Wait, I want to hear how Bob Saget happened. But didn't your mother? So Mike has this great mother. I love her. She's this Jewish mama. She lives in Michigan. I didn't even know there were Jews in Michigan. But actually, Bloomfield Hills. I think is that Bloomfield? That's where the Jews are. I think in Michigan, right?
Everywhere. West Bloomfield, Bloomfield Hills. We got a Jewish pocket.
I don't know. I'm from New York. I think only Jews come from Brooklyn. I mean, like, and Israel.
Oh, you don't even know.
But Mike, your mom, didn't she come out there? Didn't like your mother and your brother come out like early in your career and do something with you? I remember you telling me stuff like that.
Yeah, what's so funny is like it's almost like you're reading like half a sentence of a bio. Like,
I'm not. No, you told me. I remember you saying your mother came and you were living your best life, and your brother, you couldn't believe you're single. I remember this.
No, but of course my mom visited LA a few times, but she didn't like come out there or like live out there.
No, didn't you tell me that like you were partying with your mother? Like, or your brother or something? Like
my brother for sure. I think you're getting multiple stories confused, but like so which is totally fine because I'm your first guest. You're
my first guest, but also I was probably drunk when you were telling me this stuff in lockdown, not having left the house for 2 weeks. So you can't blame me for not remembering.
I don't blame you at all. So my brother had come out. Yes. So you're probably mixing up. I I had some famous friends, and then brought my brother to LA for a little while, and he came out and just like partied with us. And all of a sudden it was like two dudes from Detroit that couldn't believe that they were like hopping on a private plane, going to Leonardo DiCaprio's birthday party in Las Vegas, everything paid for. And we were just looking at each other like, are you going to tell our friends back home what's happening? Because I'm not sure if I'm allowed to. I got to like run this by these guys to see if we could tell everyone what's happening. But it was like the most fun you could have as a single comedian in LA. So yeah, my brother came out many times, visited, partied, you know, we had the most fun. But I always tell everybody who like knows those stories, because we used to run around wild, you know, is that every single night I was on stage doing comedy. So it wasn't just about like going to the party. Leo invited me to the birthday. I get to go here to Miami. If I wasn't doing my comedy every night and like dedicated to the craft and like having a discipline, none of that mattered. So like, you know, secretly I was holding it all in and just thinking to myself, I just want to be a great stand-up and a writer and, you know, and director. Yeah.
But you know what? It's so funny because like right now, like, I mean, I know you haven't been to New York, like so many, there's a bunch of people that got popular, you know, on social media during the pandemic, and they are comics, but you know, they have, now that the world's opened back up, they have no idea what it's like to really be out every night, multiple spots. And I was with somebody not too long ago. We were on a show together, and he had a big following online, and as do I. And I said to him, "Oh, when's the last time you were up? Like, or where were you last night?" I think that's what I said. And he said, "I hadn't gotten up for 3 weeks." And I'm like, 3 weeks? Like you basically just killed your career at 3 weeks. You know, I mean, it's so crazy. People don't really understand that you use it or you lose it. You know,
100%. You have to be out there 5 nights a week.
Right.
You really do. I mean, yeah, Chappelle took 10 years off. But that's because he took 10 years off after doing it 3 times a night, 5 nights a week for 20 years.
Right.
You know, you have to be up there working that muscle. It's like, I just got off the road with Bob. We just played Milwaukee. And like Sunday, I was like a little depressed because I didn't have a Sunday show. And I'm already back home now, re-looking at my notes, thinking like, when am I getting up again? Am I just going to like, do I just get in the mirror tonight?
Right.
Because I don't have a spot in Detroit. And I'm just thinking like, you notice how exponentially good you get when you do it every night. It just happens. Rhythm, it becomes second nature. We talked about this back in the day because I told you were starting to blow up off your hilarious content because you're so funny and like, you know, you're gonna have a huge following no matter what. And that's why you and I were always talking like, you have to get that material down and get up on stage, or you don't. Like it could be, you don't have, if you don't love comedy, the actual craft of stand-up, it's not a big deal. Just don't do it. Like
I think that's the thing. Not everybody loves it. I love it. When I started, I was out all the time, every night, or as much as I can be, you know, when you're just starting out, mic shows, begging people, whatever you got to do. But, when everything shut down, that was really devastating. I mean, thank God for me personally. Like I went out to Vegas, you know, I mean, I was with Brett Ernst for a minute. I did some stuff in Florida, but then the week things were open, I was out, and I go out, I'm out 5 nights a week. I mean, and it's a sacrifice, but you got to do, you really got, maybe even more, you know.
I'm glad you're out 5 nights a week, honestly, because you have a bright. Listen, you're going to be the CEO of a comedy network. It doesn't matter.
I don't want to be the CEO of a comedy. I've been there, done that.
It's like, do your listeners and followers, do they know like how, you know, what you like your level of intelligence?
No, I don't know. That's so horrible to say. No one. You know what? They know that.
No, I mean that. I'm talking about your business acumen. Like, my new movie is being funded by a billionaire, big-time business guru. I had Elyse. I made Elyse get on the phone with me to these other, like, you know, hedge fund venture capital investment dudes, just to like understand the language they were speaking to me. And she had everybody in check to the point where when the call was over, they weren't even talking about my comedy or my movie. They were like, "Yo, what's up with Elyse? You think she'd want to work with us?"
They were trying to hire me.
I'm tired of getting everybody else jobs.
No, that's nice of you to say. I don't really talk about it too much. I mean, people know that I'm in the corporate world. I don't love it. That's not where my heart is. Growing up, me personally, I mean, this is interviews about you, but I was always painting, drawing, cooking, doing stand-up, coming out of improv and doing it, which was a natural progression. I hosted a television show, an interview television show, interviewing CEOs and founders of tech startups. And then I got into improv to loosen up. And then I went into stand-up. It was a natural thing. But I don't really talk about my corporate life because at my heart, I feel like an artist. I feel like a performer. I know. But I did go to Harvard Business School, and I did go to Wharton and studied leadership and managerial economics. And I am a cryptocurrency trader. And but you know what? Here's the thing. See, when you're somebody like me and you look like you should be laying on a Corvette in a Whitesnake video, and you sound like, what the hell did Staten Island just drag in? I mean, knowing that you have that corporate or business background as your secret weapon always kills people. Like, I'm not going to name names, but I was out, I was in a room with a very popular comic not too long ago. And he tells me, in 3 seconds, I could judge anybody. And I'm like, okay. And he literally thought he had me figured out until somebody came over and asked me about like an NFT dip. And then, and we just got to talking, and he was like, the first person that just, used me. But what, you can't judge a book by its cover. But no, the people don't know it. And it's nice of you to say.
Well, you're welcome. And
I want you to.
What?
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, we all need somebody like that in our lives. Like I need somebody to keep me on the straight and narrow, checks and balances. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want to say I'm not full. I have a good business acumen. I've created my own comedy tours, but really I need I could just live in a room and just write jokes and go out and just be fine. Like I don't need anything. I don't know.
But
I wish I had math skills is what I'm trying to say.
Mike is so smart because, you're doing stand-up, but you're writing and, you're writing movies, and you turned that into a business. I mean, and there are some stand-ups that literally have to go to the industry to help them figure out a business. I mean, you made a business, but I want you to tell us about Danny Tanner, Bob Saget, because everybody, first of all, I mean, I don't know if you know, but obviously Bob Saget is a big stand-up, but
we'll get Bob on your show. Don't worry. I'll get him on.
Yeah, want him on. But how did that happen? How is it? Tell us.
So I wrote I punched up jokes on Entourage. I had an office on the show Entourage for the first 2 seasons. So Doug Allen, the creator, was like a very good friend of mine. He's like taking office here. At the time, I had a development deal at ABC, so I couldn't take another job. So I was just in the writer's room at Entourage, punching up jokes, coming up with storylines, working with the writers on a daily basis, and just sort of an uncredited writer. And at the time, Bob was about to come on as a guest star. And one of the writers on Entourage, Cliff Dorfman, was friends with Bob. And he was like, dude, you got to go on the road with Bob. You guys would be like a perfect match to like kill it on the road. So Bob comes on, he does his piece on Entourage. We connect. He's like, I'll see you, we'll talk about it. So then I go and I'm headlining Tempe Improv. Rest in peace, Dan Murr, one of the greatest club owners of all time, Tempe Improv. I'm getting ready to leave on Sunday. For some reason, Bob came in that night to talk to the owner. I meet Bob, again, we just kind of connect in the green room of the Tempe Improv. Yeah. And he's like, dude, why don't you come on the road with me for a little bit? We'll see what's up. Next thing you know, boom, it's just me and Bob doing a 2-man show for the last 7-8 years. And we just connected, and I ended up writing, for his video show, the new one that he did. And I wrote a pilot for him, and we just kind of collaborate and work together at the same time. And it just works. And, look, I'm a fearful hustler. I come from my dad was a scrap metal worker. So I always have that artist fear of I could go broke tomorrow. Yeah, so I just invent businesses on a daily basis.
That's amazing.
And my writing got to a point, and I'm not the greatest writer. You know what I mean? I'm not. But enough high level comedians and actors and people come to me now as a business, and they're like, yo, Mike, I need you to write something for me. And so I've made it a little fun business where comedians will come to me and be like, yo, I need some punch ups. I need some work. And I'm not going to say their names because they probably don't want to know people need someone to write for them. But it's become a business. And then I was always a writer anyway. And that's where, this is my 4th movie now. And still nobody knows. It's unbelievable.
Stop it.
I swear to God, I don't think anybody even knows. I joke about it like in my special, but I don't know. I think I'm like the worst publicist for my own self.
Yeah, but you know you have to drum up. I mean, you have to drum up your own heat, but hire a publicist if you want to get some PR. I mean, how about that? Take some of that sack of money you get paid and go hire somebody.
But it's like, it doesn't make sense to me in my brain to go like, I'll call a magazine. I'm
the same way.
I'm going to give you $10,000 a month to make phone calls. I know I went to high school with Will Smith's publicist. I called her. I'm like, yo, do me a couple favors.
Right. I know.
You went to high school. I'll tell everybody what you're really like.
I'm the same way. And you know what? It's that scrappiness that, that's why you're successful. That's why you're successful. Cause you're like, you know what? Fuck everybody else. I'm just going to do it. But I think that you get to a point in your career or your day to day that you're just too busy. I mean, you're just busy. I think that's the thing.
Elyse, honestly, I hate saying I'm busy because I know
it's
like an arrogant, like I'm so busy.
Yeah, because it's the new
social. I'm so busy, I wouldn't work out. I wouldn't saying
you're busy is like the new social currency. It's like saying you're busy is like I have a Birkin bag. Fuck you. Fuck you.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't say I'm busy. So like I'm not so busy, but what people don't get is even if someone were to say like, help me craft this 15 minutes of comedy,
right?
That's like 9 hours, right? Or like that's like a lot of work to do. Right. It really is. Cause I look at writing like every sentence matters. Every punch matters. Right. Like I co-wrote Michael Rappaport's book. This book has balls, like his book.
Yeah, I love Rappaport. Yeah.
And I can't remember what I did yesterday. I can't remember what year something happened. But when the editor sent back like his own little jokes in like a couple of the sentences,
right,
I recognized it right away.
Yeah.
I remember every single word that I write. And I called Rappaport and I was like, yo, bro, this editor is just supposed to edit.
Yeah.
Don't tell him quit trying to come up with his own jokes.
Oh my God.
He's like, where? I'm like, page 71, paragraph 3. If you look there, I would never write that.
You know what? Let me just say something. First of all, you are a great writer. And I was on a fundraiser show with Rappaport not too long ago. We were talking about crypto outside. We're going to have to get him on the podcast. That's all I'm going to say.
I'll get him on your podcast for sure.
I want to tell you something. You have this funny joke. I don't know if you're still doing it, but I want to tell everybody, Mike, he does a lot of stuff about dating, and he has this bit about like the things girls are doing these days, crawling on a bed. Can you please talk about that for a second? Because it's true. Okay, it's true, and it's ridiculous. Tell them.
So the joke is there's two types of girls: over 30, under 30. Over 30, they got their shit together. They know what they want in life. They're comfortable. They're confident. Under 30, even in bed, I said, even in bed, women get better when they get older. These young girls are doing all kinds of weird moves. I said, I was with this girl. She was 27 years old. She's crawling on the edge of the bed. I don't know where she's going. I'm like, what happened? Did you lose your wallet? Like, where are you going? What are you doing in my hallway? Get back here. Forget it. You know what I mean? Get the mail, then come back.
But is that true? Is that true? The over 30 and under 30?
Listen, obviously there's exceptions to every rule, but when I was single, I was like the most single person you could ever be. I did single at a very fun, respectable level. And I got to know a lot of people. Like I dated a lot of girls. I saw a lot of things and I took notes. And so, yeah, the girls that were under 30, they were just doing things to like be more impressive in bed as opposed to being in the moment. And this isn't true with every girl, but like, yeah, a lot of these younger girls, they're just doing moves that they see on TV or like things that they heard. You know what I mean? So this girl's like crawling on the edge of the bed, like looking back over her shoulder. And I'm just like, you're not even involved. Like, should I get the camera? What's happening right now? So that's where that comes from, was just like my crazy dating life. And I would see a lot of things. And
yeah, but you know what I feel? I don't know. I mean, I'm not single, but dating, with the Instagram, and everybody's an Instagram model, everybody's an Instagram celebrity. You see these accounts, influencers in the wild, and it's just so ridiculous. Girls twerking it on a boat, when the camera's underneath them. But I really do think that it's probably different for these girls when they get together with a guy. They're all getting all dressed up, all hoed up for the bedroom. Guy doesn't give a shit. That's not coming off.
Are you kidding? Listen, I got together with a girl with 1 million followers. You know what I mean? She wasn't great in bed. She was trying as hard as she could. She knew she had 1 million followers. She's like, what does 1 million follower what does that look like? And she was trying too hard.
1 million followers sexual experience look like? That's so
what is
funny.
it? How good could she be with 1 million followers? I actually wrote a joke about it. I said, can I say something edgy on here?
Like what does she have, like diamonds coming out of her vagina or something?
No, I said I went down on her and 3 followers popped up. I'm like, I said, I'm not the first person to be, you know what I mean? Everyone's here. Like, she didn't care. She was just looking for followers.
Hilarious. Wait, so now Mike is engaged, right? You have a girlfriend. You were dating in the pandy. Did you get together with her in the pandemic?
Yes.
And
yes. I knew her before the pandemic.
Okay.
I met her like a year before the pandemic in Detroit. We're both from Detroit. And met her in a bar, and just like a classic dumb college guy that I still feel like, it was like a drunk night in a bar. And I'm like, who's this beautiful girl in a Detroit bar? What are you doing? Whatever. I lived in LA still, but I got her number. We stayed in touch. Pandemic hits. She was getting divorced. She got divorced.
Right.
She texted me during the pandemic. She's like, hey, I'm, whatever. I'm an hour away. And I'm like, I've been on lockdown for 79 days in isolation. I'm freaking losing it. I am willing to risk my life right now during this whole thing. Right. So she came and we hung out. And I was like, it was one of those things where you're like, this is like oddly, she can't be this cool in a pandemic. What's the hook? You know what I mean? I didn't trust her because I got my own trust issues. So we had to hang out, many, many more times. And finally, I was like, all right, shallow Mike, who's been single for so long and like calls himself single Mike on stage, open up your broken heart and like see if this is real. And so I just opened up and I was like, wow, this girl's awesome. And then we've been dating now since the pandemic. It's been over a year. Okay,
so let me ask you something. How does a guy... So you're in your 40s, you're single, you're living this big rock star life. You're on tour with the star of Full House. You're on tour with Joe, whatever. You're doing all these things. How does a single guy, how does a girl get a single guy to say, let me open up my heart? You know how many dating advice questions that I get? Like as if I have wall-to-wall leopard carpeting and I have more mousse in my hair and I have a boyfriend that's 18 years older than me. I don't have advice.
I have advice. I could come on your show once a week and give everyone, I could help everybody out.
I would love that.
So it's literally like, how did like she get me? Is that what you're saying? Like, how do you go from single Mike to then saying, I'm going to really open up my heart? Because that's what women want. Women want the man to open up. I just turned off a part of my brain and made a conscious decision. And it's like, I basically say like, discipline is the only path to freedom, right? You've heard that before. I was like, I am going to just give this 100% effort right now and just shut off single Mike, because that could go on forever. That could just keep going. Right. My friends are famous. I could be on the road with Saget. Women are all over the place. It could just keep going. I said, I've done it at the highest, most fun level, safe level. I got out of it with unscathed, basically. You know what I mean? I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't get hurt.
No babies running around.
There was like a 20-year-old kid that popped up at a basketball game one time that did look exactly like me. Papa? I don't think he's mine, but he had my face. So I got out of it, and I basically she was just cool, and she was obviously, you can relate, right? She has 2 kids.
But she's a single mom. I don't think, did we say that she's a single mom?
No. So she's a single mom. And to me, I was like, number one, I'm not messing with a single mom's heart. Right. You know what I mean? I'm not playing when there's kids involved. I'm a good dude. I'm not here to wreck a whole household. I'm not trying to see kids go to school with no lunch. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not trying to see a confused house where a kid goes in with peanut butter on his face. I'm not trying to be that bad dude who like wrecks a house. So on my end, I'm going to be a good dude and be open. On her end, she's super cool, laid back, good mom, which is like the sexiest thing to me. She's like a good mom first. And she's hot and cool and an artist. Yeah. And I was like, this is like my vibe. And for so long, I dated girls that were like, I fell for girls that were like opposite. You know what I mean? They were just like so exciting and crazy and wild. I'm like, you're just chasing. You got a tiger by the tail. I was just like chasing. And so with her, it was more like we were both kind of going at this pace. And then one day, like about 5 months into it, she texted me and she's like, this isn't working for me. You're not serious. Unless you want to make a commitment, have a good life. And I was like, gangster. I got a gangster bitch. That's what I need, a gangster bitch.
No, that's what you got to do. You have to throw it. You have to throw it on the line. You have to be willing to walk away. And in any good business deal, you have to be like, whatever. I don't need this. By
the way, Elyse, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's a business
deal. You have to be. So all your female fans out there and all the people that listen to you, just understand that is the advice right there. Be willing to walk away and put the screws to him. Because otherwise, a guy will just go forever.
Yeah, but you know
we will be in a non-committed relationship for the rest of our lives. We will not make a change. We won't buy a ring. We have to have our back against the wall and a gun to our head. And that's not because we don't want to do those things. We're just like a lazy beast by nature. It's like we think everything's just fine the way it is anyway. I'm like, what's different?
But I think like when you're saying you turned up a part of your brain, I mean, but my grandmother says men are like fruit, ripe for the picking. I think you're ripe for the picking. If you met her 20 years ago or 15 years ago, I mean, you might have put her in the pantry for a later date, called her up when you're ready.
She'd have been on ice. If I'd have met her 6-7 years ago, she's not coming between me and DiCaprio's birthday party. No chance. It took a pandemic.
Honestly, wait, you know what? So
I was ripe for the picking. I was ready. I was tired. You know what I mean? I'm like, my career is in a place where I feel like, I need someone like her to just like make me want to be better and more disciplined. Because otherwise I'm just feeding myself.
Yeah.
And I could feed myself forever just off, being able to do stand up and write. I want to take it to another level. And I think you do need somebody to put it to you, somebody that you can always get somebody that makes it worse. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
You don't want someone that makes your business worse. Right. You want someone who makes your life better, who you're like, I want to be better for this person. I want to do better for this person. Don't get it twisted. There's many, many relationships that go the other way. And I won't be in that. I'll be out of that so quick, you won't even know what happens. Like, luckily, and she Googled dating a comedian. Let's put it that way.
Oh my God, that's cute. That's cute.
I swear to God. And she knows what it is. And she knows that, listen, I'm all for her artwork. She's a painter and like a legit artist. And listen, she's so pretty. She like does some modeling stuff and whatever. She just did like commercials for Jeep. She does, even though it's only Detroit, she does her thing. So
yeah,
I got her back. She's got mine. If it was any other way, it wouldn't work. If you're like, where are you going? What are you doing? Don't tell that joke. Because listen, it's gotta be tough dating a comedian. You're a comedian.
No, I think it's hard. I mean, obviously, my boyfriend. I mean, he's in the business.
Yeah.
I don't feel like, for me personally, I don't have a lot of options. Not to say that I'm settling, but it's like, I don't think you have a lot of options. If you're a girl, a female comedian that has, I have 2 kids. I have a 9-to-5 job because I don't know, getting paid, however much I'm getting paid at this point isn't going to pay the bills. And then doing stand up at night, that's not a thing. When I was doing the apps, these men, they were like, you're a what? You're a comic? That I stopped telling people. But then it was like, I'm not going to go into a relationship being disingenuous. That's crazy. But so I do agree. You have to have that. You have to have the respect for what each other does, professionally or hobby passion stuff. But you know what? You are different because you have to want to be in a serious relationship. You have to want that life. Not everybody wants that life. I think a lot of girls are talking about, trying to change somebody that doesn't want that life.
Right. You have to make a conscious decision to want that life. And right. I want that life now. I've had, like I said, I've had the other life. Listen, I was engaged 17 years ago. Everyone thinks I'm like the most, because I called myself Single Mike. I had a whole chunk of material on being single. Yeah. They don't remember that I was in 15 years of relationship. So I was in a 5-year, then another 5, and then another 5. Right. It wasn't until after that last 5 that I said, you know what? Let me see. Maybe the world is just tricking you. Like, let me see what being single feels like. And let me just dedicate myself to just myself for a minute. Let me be selfish and let me just work on stand-up, tour the country, write as much as I can, and just do for me, because I'm not really doing well I mean, obviously 5 years is a pretty good run for all of them, but there's come a time where I'm like looking to get out, and that's not cool. So I just made the decision to go hard, just to be single and embrace it. Embrace whatever moment you're in. Like I did that bit about being single because I was like, people are afraid to be alone.
Right.
And you have to just love yourself first, right? Because otherwise, if you don't get into yourself and take care of yourself and your health and like appreciate what you could be and what you are, you're never going to be cool with somebody else.
Yeah.
So I just had that whole bit about like alone time where I'm like, I love me. You know what I mean? Like I took me to dinner. I went to a movie. I had some tequila. I said, I woke up in the morning. I had my own phone number. I called me just to see how I was doing.
You know what? That's hilarious. But isn't that funny? Like living in Manhattan, I've been living in Manhattan for almost 20 years. I don't know anything different than to do stuff with my own self, but I have girlfriends. My girlfriends, they're amazing. We've been friends forever, but they've never been out to dinner by themselves on a Saturday night. And I'm like, what? Like, that's so crazy to me because, there's that traditional, like, go to school, meet somebody, get married, have few kids. And is the American dream having a husband, 3 kids and a dishwasher full of dishes? No,
You're 1,000% right. And they've tricked us. Honestly, they've tricked us in the world to think that being traditional is like the only great route to go. Right. And I've never been into tradition. I've always no tradition. Like, I don't even like any tradition. Like, I'm cool with Christmas and Hanukkah and going to the family functions and stuff like that. But like, I always felt like, and my dad was kind of like this too. My dad wasn't into like the traditional tradition. You know what I mean? And so I never believed like the system, it was all set up for all these traditions for, making money here and making money there, and Christmas, you shop here and you do that. It's just about loving somebody and however you got to make that work. When I was engaged 17 years ago, I remember my girl was like, we're going to go to therapy. And we went to and I openly went to couples therapy, and I'll never forget, it went bad for her. She wanted therapy. By the end of it, the therapist was so on my side. My girl was crying in the parking lot. And she's like, I'll never go to therapy again. That was the stupidest therapist. And it was because the therapist said to me, this is like, I put this in my movie, My Man is a Loser, because I had to quote it. But it's like in a relationship, there's 3 paths, right? There's like your path. You are a person, your own individual, fully functioning person that should have her own path to do whatever she loves to do. I should have my own path to do whatever I love to do. But then there's a path that we're on together that we make each other's lives better. So there's 3 paths, and people just get confused in relationships. They're like, you're supposed to be on my path. Oh no, you need to be on my path. And it's like, no, you be the best you, I'll be the best me, and together we'll be the best we can be.
That's nice. And that's very contemporary, because obviously, like our grandparents, they got married at 18. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and they found each other, and then they didn't, nobody strayed, but and that's obviously because of economic reasons or whatnot. But I think that's nice. That's why everybody should wait until they're older to get married. I mean, that's really the truth.
I think everyone should wait till they're older for all the moves that, like, college should be for when you're 30. You know what I mean?
God, I know.
It's like everything is tricked into like a younger age for everything. And to me, it's like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And like college was just fun. I went to Arizona. All I did was have fun from the first day I got there. Did I get an education? Yeah. Did I make great friends? Amazing friends. But like now is when I should be going to college.
I know.
I don't know anything.
Don't you ever think about that? Like all the amazing classes that you could have taken or you did take in school, like all these philosophy classes, wouldn't they be so much better suited if you had them now or even when you're older,
I think there might be a business there.
There is. It's called continuing education. I mean,
Oh, you mean there's already like a $17 billion industry that I'm pretending doesn't exist?
Well, I mean, then what is it? Masterclass was a great business because yeah, but what's the problem, man? First of all, I know they do a lot of like Gordon Ramsay shit, but they do have real classes or course horse is another one. What's the problem with Masterclass?
I love some of the master classes. I looked at Aaron Sorkin's writing class. I looked at all the writing classes, but now they're like basically giving everyone's got a master class. I mean, this is a bit, but I feel like it should be a bit. But like, I know a girl who's like the sex therapist, or she's like the sex masterclass girl. I don't want to say her name or anything, but like, let's just say I went to high school with her. I've known her whole life.
And she shouldn't be giving sex therapy classes?
I ain't giving sex therapy. You know what I mean? You shouldn't even be going to you know what I mean? Like you're beautiful, you're cool, you know about sex, but let's be honest. I don't think you have a degree in any of it. They're giving away sex. They're giving away master classes.
I have a part in a pilot, a sitcom that, you know, I don't know. I think we're filming the pilot soon, but I'm giving a master class on how to sell knives. I mean, of course, because that's.
I got to find something for you in my movie. I will. I know I told you I will.
Wow. Let me tell you
By
something.
the way, I'm shut down. I'm shut down until January.
Hold on. And I want to talk to you about this Alec Baldwin thing. So Mike I want you to talk about how you got into movie writing, because that's crazy. But he's writing this movie. Like he said, he has this billionaire funding. I've been asking this guy for the last 2 years. I mean, I'm going on, what am I going on? 700 days now. I text him, you got a part for me in your movie. He ghosted me. You totally ghosted me. But no,
because anyway.
I'm not an actress. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm not an actress. I mean, I think you have to be an actress to do stand-up in some regard, but I'm not a trained actor.
You're a personality that I could easily put into the puzzle to the movie and just write something for you. So I got you. Just
what's the movie called? Relax. That's not in my DNA. Relax. Ridiculous.
So this movie is called Stealing Jokes. And it's this is my fourth movie, and I'm writing, directing it, and it's about 3 comedians that go on the road and they get stiffed by the comedy clubs along the way by these bad, shady owners, and they decide to start robbing the comedy venues. And they're over it. And it's really just like it's basically like it's my take on capitalism, on underdog tale, on respect art, on respect the comedian. And it's just, I've been dying to tell this story for a long time. Like I had it in my mind for like 6-7 years. So here's where I got the idea. I swear to God, I'm opening for Dave Chappelle like eight years ago in San Francisco. And we had the same manager at the time. And I'm opening for 14 shows, Sacramento and San Fran, 7 in each town. And I start counting up the people that are in the place. And I start doing the numbers in my head, and I'm only getting paid as a feature act like $500. I'm not even kidding.
No, I know. I'm the same. Mm-hmm.
This isn't Dave's fault. Dave didn't even ask me to do this. This was because we had the same manager, and he like blessed me and was like, "Yo, go open for Dave." And I'm like, "I'll never pass up the opportunity to work with Dave."
Like you do it for free.
I would do it for free.
Right, of course.
But so I'm standing in the doorway and I'm counting up the money in my head, and I'm like, man, Dave's probably getting like 80,000 tonight, 80,000 tomorrow. So in my mind, you know, I'm a hood from Detroit. I had a hoodie shade. I did some shady shit back in my day. And so I say to myself in my mind, I'm like, there's got to be like 100,000 cash in a safe somewhere in this building. And I'm like, if I was 17 years old in Detroit with my friends, we probably might think of a way to get the safe out of here.
Right.
And so that started like boiling in my head. I went through my other movie. I did, a couple other movies. This wouldn't leave my brain. This like idea of like comedians getting treated like shit, having to rob a place. Every comedian has a story about being on the road and getting stiffed. So everybody knows that like, anytime I tell anyone this idea, they're like, I wish I was doing, I'm dying to rob this place. This guy in Milwaukee stiffed me. This dude in Rochester got me. You know what I mean? Everyone's got their story. So I just wrote it. And the beeline of it is that an influencer, like we were talking about, steals a bit from one of the comedians and he blows up huge. So now not only are they like getting stiffed by comedy venues, now they got to go after this influencer dude on his big show because he just became famous in 2 seconds off of what it took them 10 years to even craft. So it's really just me. It's really, I have to make this movie so I don't rob a comedy club.
Can we talk about that for 1 second? Tangent. I now that, I don't know, now that things are back open, you hear a lot of things. And because I started doing stand-up way before the pandemic, and then during the pandemic, I got the following. Now I have these 2 different groups of people that I'm friends with, right? Like the comics and then these influencers. And it's weird, right? And these influencers will tell me because they want to go out. Some of them want to go out on the road. They've never even held the microphone before. They're like, I'm hilarious. And then, then I'm like, it's so funny because then, and then you'll be like, well, I'm like, what are you going to do? And they're like, I'm going to host. It's like, there's a whole art to that, but okay, you're going to host. So anyway,
no idea.
No, it's terrible. It's terrible. But then they, I'll say, well, what are you going to talk about? What's your material? And they'll reference bits that like Steve Harvey did. I mean, Amy Schumer, and you're just like, how could you do that? But that's a thing. It's a real thing. And I one situation, I have one thing in my head. I'm not going to say it, but it's the guy got popular from it. Taking somebody else's bit, and it sucked.
Really?
Yeah, really. Like the exact same premise. It's not parallel thinking. It's because it's
It's stealing jokes. You're stealing.
Right.
Get into your own life, influencers. Think about what makes you laugh in your own. Tell jokes about having no talent and blowing up huge.
Right.
You know what I mean? Go on stage and be like, I can't believe this either. You know what I mean? Right. I'm getting 10,000 a night for what? What do I do? You know what I mean? Like,
don't you think?
Call me. I'll write for you to get the movie.
Don't you think? No, not seriously. I actually told somebody about you not too long ago. I said, I have a friend who writes, but don't you think that's funny? Like these people, they have this following. And they never held a microphone, and they've never been on a stage, and they never performed anything in their whole entire life. And they've been doing stand up for 3 months, whatever, however long and they're getting these huge door deals, for everybody that's listening that doesn't know. I mean, that's like a deal you make at the door with the venue, and that's how you make your money, percentage based on how many people come or tickets sold. But how it's almost, sometimes I think like the comedy thing business is changing in the sense that our attention spans, the American public, our attention spans are shorter. Maybe the content people consume maybe is like less intelligent. Not to say that the influencers, the people out there aren't intelligent, but they're not these tight, well-crafted things. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but it's fucked up. It's fucked up. These people, they're in a theater with 1,000 people, and the one girl I know specifically, I said, what is she talking about during this show she has? And she says, whatever comes to mind. You're a one-hit wonder, dollface. Nobody's paying to see you 2 times in a row, right?
Exactly. You say that to me, you're getting kidnapped at your show.
Right.
If you just go in front of a packed house and whatever comes to mind, that's exactly that's the state of affairs that I need to speak on. Like, for real. That's what bums me out. I don't get like angry at the way of the world, because I honestly believe a well-crafted act is still going to be the thing for the future. Yeah. Because I'm like just going on the road last week to Milwaukee, me and Bob in front of, 500 paying customers per show. You have to give them a crafted professional act. And
Agreed.
And if you don't, let those influencers burn themselves out. They can do whatever they want. If you think you can go up and just say whatever comes to mind, God bless you. It's a one and done situation. You ain't packing that theater again in 6 months without some kind of material, because the people are going to go, what did I just go there for?
Well, so I have a big Italian following, as you know. I mean, that listen to the podcast, and they're big fans of Sebastian. Obviously, I know you're friends with him and you worked with him, were out with him on the road, whatever the hell you were doing. But one of the reasons I think why he's so good at what he does is he always has fresh material. You're not going to go see the same show. And people want to maybe hear his doorbell bit, the second time or the third time, because they love it. It's like your favorite song. But he always has a new act. And I think that's, when you look at the guys that are making $20-30 million a year, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, they come with fresh stuff. Sebastian, I've known for 20 years. You know what I mean? Like we did our Young American Comedy tour together. He slept in my mom's basement for a week.
Hilarious. Everybody, wait, it's funny. You should tell me a couple stories about that, because everybody would just get a kick out of it. But when I was with Brett Ernst in Vegas, it was we did his show. And then after I wanted to go to Burger King, it was like 4 a.m. and I wanted him to buy me coffee and French fries. So of course he just obliged. And he's telling me how he was doing, I don't know, it was an old story, but he was doing stand up for maybe, 5-6 years. And it was his birthday. And, he didn't give a shit that it was his birthday. Nobody gives a fuck. It's your birthday. And Sebastian comes over to him and hands him a birthday card. With like a Nordstrom gift certificate in it for like $25. And Brett was like, what the fuck is this? You're giving me a gift certificate for and he, Brett was like, he's so formal in that like sense, and it's such a cute story. When he was telling me it, I was like, oh my God, people would like love to hear that. The people that are his fans,
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah. I had to answer my mom because I saw that my nephew called twice. Sebastian has not changed. I'm not kidding. Not only is he like that, I knew Sebastian when he was passing out his own business card, but it had a headshot on it. So he would just give you like his card and it had like his modeling headshot. Literally.
Black and white picture.
even when he lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, it was like meticulous. It was like in a shady, shitty part of town, but like it was gleaming as if he was going to be living in a mansion one day, and he knew it. And I remember because I was moving at the time and I had like a nicer place. And he's like, if you want my place, you can have my place. I'm going to a different place. And I was like, yo, bro, you live next to Ralph's on La Brea near the tar pits. Like I would never live over there. And Sebastian is somebody that constantly comes with fresh material because everything rubs him the wrong way. So he's lucky that he sees the world like that anyway, because like example, I went to his kid's birthday during the pandemic, like, when we were like a little safer, and his kid had a pandemic with like the color haired pony and all this crazy.
Oh yeah. I heard about that on his podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. So I go to the thing and he just rolls up on me. He's like, if anybody tells you that they're happy being home with their family, they're lying to you. And he lives like on the edge of like a big dip cliff type of thing. And he's like, I was ready to jump off the cliff yesterday. So he lives in that funny zone, and he's lucky like that. But Sebastian's, he's a good friend. And we did, right before the pandemic, he called me and he's like, yo, you want to do these 9 cities with me on a bus? This is how clean and like weird he is socially. We're on the same bus. I didn't see Sebastian.
Where was he?
We're on a tour bus together. He's in his back room the whole time talking to the family and like who knows what, like glossing his skin or whatever, doing skin product weird shit. And I'm like in my own little bus bed. And then I went to the front of the bus because I had no one to talk to. I was basically just talking to the bus driver and the tour manager the whole time. And I'm just like, but I'm also like, I know him so well that I'm like, you can't even be mad at him. This is just his own weird shit.
So wait, you know what?
He's totally messed up.
What is that? What is that like? I mean, you're so accomplished. You've done so many things, but when you have one of your friends, you're both on the come up, right? And then one of your friends just gets catapulted into a whole nother level. What it like? I'm sure people want to know, like, what is that like? I mean, you text, you're hearing about kids' birthday parties. This is like any other friends, but your friend just happens to live in,
Yeah. I watched it all happen, and I couldn't be happier for him. Like when he was starting to blow up, I kind of went away from stand-up for a good chunk of time and started doing my movie stuff. So I was like watching him kind of from like the outside for a second. And I was just watching him. He was selling out like the Denver, he was selling out Comedy Works. Then he was selling out like the Addison Improv. And then he was selling out Ontario. And he was just like building and building. And he really was working his, he was working his butt off. And I was watching it happen. And then I'm trying to think of like what the first sort of explosion. I think he was doing Jay Leno's TV show. Like they loved him so much that he started doing Jay Leno. And then when he started doing theaters, I was like, oh, here he goes. A rocket ship is about to take off. Because like big famous people were starting to love him. He was getting tons of notoriety. And it just was a fully organic, natural, slow rocket ship. So it wasn't like an overnight thing at all. He put in the work. And for me to watch it happen, I love it. Like I loved it because I've never been a hater. There's haters all over this business. And they love you, they hate you. I love seeing my boys succeed. And I always have, even like when I wasn't doing well. Like, listen, I was trained, I hate to name drop, but whatever. Like, I told you I was in a basketball league with like DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire and all these dudes. So I had a front row seat to watching Leo and Toby, especially Toby, take off as Spider-Man. And I saw him rocket ship into the orbit as in fame. Yeah. And so I was so happy for him, like financially, and like he could finally just like breathe and live however he wanted. And, I already watched it happen, how people acted around him. So when it was happening with Sebastian, I was already kind of like trained in having famous. And Sebastian knew, by the way, like I brought him over to DiCaprio's house to play pickleball. Yeah. I was bringing him around all those guys, and because they loved his act. He didn't know it. He couldn't believe it, but like he already had fans at a high level. Yeah. So when I watched him explode, it was just like super awesome. And like my mom loves it because she gets to go to his shows in Detroit and he's family. So to me, it was just like watching just someone who I love and respect get what they deserve. So I was like more looking at him like, yo, bro, if you get too stressed out and this shit is getting weird on you, you can always call me.
Yeah,
and
that's
just
nice.
Come kick it and just, because I know it's about to get weird and you're going to act like you're so cool and you got your shit together, but I know you're bugging.
Yeah.
Because I know you're paranoid, you want security, and like things are going to get weird. So like just breathe and like isolate with your family. Because I saw it already with a couple other friends. And it can go the other way. It can go real weird and south. But for Sebastian, I was like, yo, bro, just go get your money, do your thing, save your money if you can. Like just make sure you're smart and like just stay healthy through this whole thing.
You know what? There's another business for you. You could write a book. How to behave when your friend gets super famous. I mean, right? Like, I mean, you've heard it a few times. No, but you know what? That's nice. And but that's like anything else. I mean, it's like in any other industry. This is different because it's so public. You're so public and you have these fans. But it's like when your girlfriend gets a great promotion, or buys a great penthouse in Tribeca. Like, there's always going to be those people that are like,
don't be I could tell you right now, for your people that are like, don't be a hater. You can hate someone that you hate just for hate. They might be a bad person. You don't have to wish them well if you don't like the person. Right. But it really benefits you more to like be a lover. You know what I mean? Right. To not hate on people, because it doesn't do anything other than stifle your own creativity.
I was just gonna say, well, but what's also, what do you want to expend your energy on? I mean, do you want to expend your energy on like that, or do you want to just? I mean, when you're a cheerleader, I don't know there's a famous thing. It's like, I don't know, if you want to be happy, then like be rich. But if you want like your soul fulfilled, then like do good with others or something like that. Yeah. I mean, and that's what it really is.
Dan Gilbert, who is financing my movie, I told you he's big.
Dan Gilbert is the CEO of Quicken Loans for all of you people. He used to be a client of mine, but yes.
CEO of Quicken Loans, genius businessman, one of my mentors, but he always does this thing. He always just talks about doing well by doing good, well by doing, he just like, he punches that all the time. Yeah, and he really believes it. And it's true. It's like when you change your mind frame over to doing well by doing good and like wanting good for people, your whole life changes. I swear to God. I swear it does. It just
I know.
It just gets lighter. You know what I mean? You just feel lighter and you're able to like accomplish your own thing. Plus, believe me, this is a hard enough business. You got to be someone that people want to work with.
Right.
Like I said, I'm not the greatest writer, but I'm pretty cool to work. I'm fun to work with.
Right.
And like, I have empathy for people. Yeah. So like, you got to have empathy and you got to just be, good to work with and have discipline. And, if you can get a couple famous friends, it really helps your life too, because I've had some of the greatest meals with Sebastian. I have had like the most fun opening for him in front of 15,000 people, and just being, whatever, just want good for your friends and good will happen to you. It's like watching, I really believe Brett's going to kill me, but I was like, Brett, if you want to go to the highest level,
tell people, Brett Ernst. He's Louis LaRusso on Cobra Kai. He's one of our friends and he's so funny. He's funny. So, I started a tour called the Young American Comedy Tour. We did it like 10 years ago. I had a tour. I picked out my friends who weren't famous yet. I looked on the patio of the Comedy Store. I saw Sebastian, Brett, Bobby Lee, Tony Rock, and a couple other comics. And I said, if all these famous comedians are making $15 million on a super famous tour, we got to be worth at least like $2 million. Like, of course. That was genius of you.
We're not less funny than them. We're just, nobody knows us.
Right.
And I went to the owner and the booker of the Improv. I was like, these are the guys I got. We're going to name it the Young American Comedy Tour. Can you book us? And we ran it for 3 years, but I was such a bad businessman that I didn't know what else to do with it. And when the head of the Improv asked me, do I want any partners? I didn't know what the answer should have been. So I was like, no. But if Elyse DeLucci was with me, she'd have said, absolutely 100%. We're going to do a 70-30 split. You'll take 70, we'll take 30. At the end of it all, we sell it for $27 million. But no, Mike Young, the fucking hood from Detroit, didn't know how to make business happen on a higher level. But Brett Ernst, who we circled back to, was on the tour. And Brett could be one of the biggest comics in the game. I know. He really, and I think, I hope we take it to heart, because I said, Brett, if you take the F, he said he drops F-bombs all over his act.
I know.
And I'm not one to curtail anybody's act or at all, but I know him so well that he only does it like in his little insecure moments. And I was like, Brett, if you take like 65% of the F-bombs out, you're going to raise your game another 40%. I like how I use math, even though I don't know math. But he's like, you're right. And now I'm seeing Brett steadily climbing. And he probably doesn't feel like it, but I can see him on a trajectory to where he's, look at, he may not sell, 15,000, and you don't need to. You don't need to. You just want to go make a great living being an amazing comedian. And that's what Brett's going to do. And that's what I hope to do in my stand-up world. If I don't get too busy.
No, you're gonna do it, and he's gonna do it. And when I was with him in Vegas, first of all, let me just say, I don't know if it's that poster, the Young Americans poster, or the Vince Vaughn thing, comedy tour, because he's like, Elyse, come to my office. Let me show you my office. And I was like, okay. And he has a giant poster. I don't know if it's that or the Vince Vaughn comedy tour.
It's probably the Vince Vaughn. Believe me, if you got a choice between Mike Young's comedy tour and Vince Vaughn's going on the wall.
Well, let me tell you, as you move into his living room, you should see he has life-size pictures of Jesus on the cross hanging down. I mean, the guy is like,
it's not going to help.
He's like, this is the virgin. I mean, honestly, it's so funny. But anyway, no, you're going to do it. He's going to do it. He's amazing. Everybody loved him at his show. I mean, he had so many fans. I mean, he was great. But wait, Mike, I want you to tell me, plug whatever you want to plug. Where can people find you? Okay. So
I would say my Instagram is The Real Mike Young. That's like a Instagram, my social media, which I'm not good at. I need you to help me with that. I would say go to All Things Comedy, allthingscomedy.com, which is Bill Burr's network. And my new special, Who the F is Mike Young, is on there. So it's featured on the cover page, which shout out to Bill Burr for being like another unselfish, super famous dude who wants to raise people up. So I would say go to allthingscomedy.com and make sure you watch Who the F is Mike Young. And then I will be headlining comedy at the Carlson in Rochester, New York, November 11th to the 13th. And then I'll be headlining Raleigh Improv December 1st and Charlotte Comedy Zone December 2nd. So Charlotte, Rochester, and what's the other one? Raleigh. Okay, North Carolina. Yeah, find me in Rochester, New York, Raleigh, North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina. If they're not in those states, what about, are you out anywhere else with Saget? I mean, like, is there a tour they can look at? Yeah, for that, I would say go to bobsaget.com because Bob's got all the tour dates that I'm on. So we're going to Denver. We're going to Cheyenne, Wyoming coming up. So I'm just out there on tour. Good. And if you don't find me on tour, just call me if you need a movie made. And wait, when's your movie coming out? Or it's not even made? I don't even know. So it's not in the can yet. So unfortunately, we got shut down. So my lead actor got COVID and we had to shut down. And then when we were coming back, my lead actress tested positive for COVID. And so instead of like rushing back around Thanksgiving now, we're just going to wait till January to get up and shoot again, which I'm totally happy with because I could just see a nightmare scenario going into Christmas, going into Thanksgiving. Just forget it. And it's your first Christmas as a newly engaged man or second time around engaged man. So you got to do it up or Hanukkah, whatever it is. First engaged Christmas. And, look, she's got 2 kids. So, yeah, it's a big thing. It's a big thing. Well, Mike, I'm so happy that you came and you were my first guest. Thank you. And thanks you, everybody. Wait, so it's on Instagram at The Real Mike Young. At The Real Mike Young. And then you're what? Okay, at The Real Mike Young. That's just where you're going to get him. You can DM him if you want. Thank you. DM me. We'll talk. You can go to the Mike Young comedy channel if you want. But really, I want people to watch the Who the F is Mike Young comedy special. Comedy special. All things comedy. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Talk to you. Thanks, Elyse. Bye. All right, bye.